There will never be another Ultraman Tiga, hear me out. Ultraman Tiga kickstarted the Ultraman franchise after the long hiatus from the previous Ultraman series. During this time, Kamen Rider also experienced some decline in popularity, and the introduction of Kuga during the Heisei era revitalized the Kamen Rider franchise once again. You can say that Ultraman Tiga is equivalent to Kamen Rider Kuga, both having the similarity in the revitalization of a long-running franchise and bringing something new to the table compared to the previous series. Ultraman Tiga became a classic, and its influence is undeniable. Although it is not made obvious throughout the show, Ultraman Tiga is pretty philosophical in its way of portraying good and evil. Although the show is full of actions, alien interventions, and the full-on kaiju fights, hidden within each episode is a depth of philosophical interpretation of good and evil. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, also said that in the Star Wars franchise, the Force is a concept of religion based on the premise that there is God and there is good and evil. The dark side and the light are just creative representations of the duality of morality, the clashing of good and evil. Similarly, Ultraman Tiga also uses a creative approach to let audiences better understand the morality in the forms of light and darkness. Ultraman Tiga is known for most of its dark and serious undertones. Of course, there are lighthearted moments, but the serious undertones, ultimately creating a more serious storyline, are not only done without thought, but it is done deliberately to create the contrast of light and dark. So, what is light and darkness in Ultraman Tiga, and how does it define the show? When I was little, Ultraman Tiga definitely left an impression on me. I always thought that some of the episodes were actually a bit scary. Maybe it was the gloomy and dark sounding soundtracks over high tension scenes, or was it the aliens featured in the episodes that made me feel a bit uncomfortable? Looking back, the strong undertone of darkness that made me sit at the edge of my seat was done for the sole purpose of conveying the dark side of the series. Throughout most of the episodes, there were a lot of interesting storylines, many of them representing the darkness that tried to lead most people to lose their humanity. But what does losing one's humanity mean? According to Answers.com, losing humanity means you no longer hold any value toward human life and or human beings. You don't care about what happens to anything or anyone, including yourself. It means the loss of your existence. Your loss of value to others' existence. It is often compared with the loss of emotions or becoming of a demon, as losing emotions usually means the loss of sympathy. But in truth, the loss of humanity is the loss of the belief that many humans run on. Ethics, mainly, as well as sympathy, is a very open-ended phrase. Looking at this definition, it gives us a better insight into why most of the episodes have a dark undertone to tell a story about the loss of one's humanity. The greatest example is the demon Kyriloid, which asks the population to lose their humanity and bow allegiance to them, basically worship them as their savior and portray Ultraman Tiga as the devil. Even though Ultraman Tiga so far has a track record of being humanity's hero, Kyriloid was able to manipulate the population by falsifying this narrative that they're God and showing an angelic figure in the sky in order to try to represent the light. It shows that humans can sacrifice their humanity and logical reasoning to further their own well-being and interest, in this case, to see heaven and angels. This is not the only example that series show humans abandoning their humanity for selfish reasons. Another example is in episode 11, which featured a story revolving around Hori and his best friend Ryusuke. Throughout the episode, we find out that Ryusuke experiences sudden pain like a heart attack when, in reality, he is actually turning into a kaiju. Although we do not know why at first, it is later revealed that he experimented on the Evolu cells on himself, which unfortunately created a negative side effect. Ryusuke succumbed to the darkness because of his brewing jealousy and his greed for becoming first and better than everyone else. After we see him turn into the kaiju for the first time, we slowly see his attitude change as Ryusuke says he wouldn't lose to Hori this time, accepting himself as a kaiju, also meant that he was accepting his dark self, ultimately abandoning his humanity in the process. My favorite episode that portrays this is episode 41. Shinjo's friend Kinosaki turned into the alien race Irudo. When Shinjo and the rest of the Guts team showed up at the site of the accident, a voice slowly crept up in his earpiece and asked Shinjo whatever was coming at him, shoot it. It was our first time seeing the Irudo alien as he appeared out of the bushes as Shinjo shot and killed him. He later found out that Irudo was actually Kinosaki, his good friend. Shinjo became traumatized by this. We later see that throughout the episode, Irudo is trying to experiment with humans by turning them into Irudo aliens and portraying themselves as an advanced civilization that wants to coexist with humanity. They also said that if you joined them, they would overcome fear, sorrow, and pain just like them. Of course, many people were attracted by this and blindly wanted to join them. This episode is significant in the sense that it is another episode in which the dark side tries to portray light to manipulate people into abandoning their humanity and reasoning. It shows a perfect example of the contrast of the real light and the fake one. Kinosaki, despite being changed into an Irudo alien, did not lose his light and wanted Shinjo to kill him because he didn't want to lose his humanity. Out of all the episodes mentioned, light also plays a big role in Ultraman Tiga. He is the embodiment of light in the show, hence the name the Giant of Light. Light is a recurring theme in the show that represents hope and a reminder to not lose one's humanity. Every time Ultraman Tiga steps into action to save the day, it also symbolizes a reminder to let the cast and others know that holding on to one's humanity is important and not succumbing into their own darkness. If we have to understand Ultraman Tiga, the embodiment of light himself, we also have to understand Daigo, its host. Masaku Mikita, one of the screenwriters for Ultraman Tiga, shared his view on the theme of light in the series and said that, so when Daigo was a human, it didn't matter how painful it was. It can hurt so much you can't transform, no longer have the power to become light, but linger on the edge of death, and I like this approach very much. It doesn't matter even if the torment lasts until the moment before transformation, but after the transformation, you must do your best till the very end. Throughout the series, Daigo slowly accepted his fate as Ultraman Tiga and bearing the responsibility of protecting everyone. He is not only protecting their life, but most importantly, he is also protecting them from being manipulated by the darkness. Even when it is in the form of light, he puts the world's weight on his shoulders in order to inspire everyone to become the real light. The point of becoming light does not necessarily mean eternal bliss, happiness, or free from pain or sadness. Episode 45 best portrays this, in which the world was under Gajira's pollen, making them excessively happy and free from worrying about the calamity that was coming in the finale. On a superficial level, it may seem like a good thing, but it actually isn't. This is also another form of losing one's humanity because it goes against what light is according to what the series have built up until now. Holding on to humanity is also about accepting reality, regardless of what kind of obstacle we face. Even if life is not as bright as it seems, the real light is about what is within, regardless of any external circumstances or influences. Although Daigo didn't know why he was chosen as Tiga, he slowly understood this, and you can say that he also slowly became the embodiment of light, just like Tiga.